It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning show that covers fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation here in the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Loophole Optics, America's optical authority, by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors,
by Wallowa County.
Nature is on display in Northeast Oregon, and by The Real News, your fishing resource. Also by Shiloh Inns and Suites, providing you with affordable excellence. And by Mardon Resort, the place for fishing, hunting, and more in Eastern Washington. And now, it's time to head outside with your host, John Cruz.
I got to attend the 4th annual Backcountry Hunter and Anglers Annual Rendezvous last week in Spokane, and I'll tell you what, there is something electric about an organization on the rise like this one. In case you didn't know, this 10-year young organization born around a campfire in Southern Oregon is full of hunters and anglers who are passionate about pursuing fish and game on our public lands. From the Brewfest on Friday, attended by some 400 people, to the standing room only seminars and dynamic panels, luncheons, and Saturday evening bash, this was perhaps the best conservation organization convention I have ever attended. Most of you couldn't make it to this event. I get that, which is why we are bringing some of the key players and what they had to say to you this week on Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're going to start off by talking to Land Tawney, the executive director of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, who gives us more details about this young and growing group, the fun being had at the rendezvous, and about the opening salvos being fought in a battle shaping up in Washington, D.C. that could result in the transfer of federal lands management to the states. Does this sound like a good idea to you? It's not. It may well result in a loss of access to you to the Forest Service and BLM lands you love to recreate in. Land breaks down who gains from this proposed legislation, why folks like you and me will lose, and what you can do about it. After our conversation with Land, we're going to catch up with Lance Murs with Max Lure Company, who has been fishing Northeast Washington's Lake Roosevelt with great success for rainbow trout, and then we head right back to the banks of the Spokane River and the BHA Rendezvous to talk to the event's keynote speaker, Randy Newberg. Randy is the host of Fresh Tracks, a very popular TV show on the Sportsman Channel. Randy's show is all about self-guided hunting for big game on public lands, and as you might imagine, he's a big believer and supporter of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. In addition to this, we've got some field reports from around the Northwest, but we'll be sticking around Spokane so we can talk to Wanda Clifford with the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council about the Great Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show kicking off Thursday, March 19th, and running through Sunday, the 22nd. We're going to be there, and as you're going to hear, it's going to be a lot of fun. But before we head to the big, boisterous rendezvous in Spokane, David Sparks has a new edition of Sportsman Spotlight for us, courtesy of the Ag Information Network. This week, Dave reports on what kind of dog well-known Northwest outdoor celebrity Scott Haugen settled on to be his hunting companion.
Last week I pointed out that Weatherby Firearms has put out a website called wby-tv.com. This TV website features educational and entertaining videos for all who have a passion for the outdoor hunting and shooting lifestyle. In terms of educational, there's one place where you can go to get what they call Weatherby Tips, which are little videos that are educational regarding hunting. I found one where Weatherby team member Scott Haugen gave the following advice about hunting dogs.
We hooked up with Steve Waller of Tall Timber Poodle Pointers in Oakland, Oregon. I'd hunted behind poodle pointers a lot and had great success with them hunting for shed antlers. But when our son Kasdan hunted with Steve Waller and his dog Lon, our life changed. 3 months later, we had our first dog. Echo is now 10 months old, and she's been on many hunts with us. She's been a great addition to the family and changed our lives. She's also made hunting more enjoyable than I ever imagined. When searching for a dog that's right for you, take your time. Consider the type of hunting you'll be doing. If you want a family dog or one that sleeps outside in the kennel, be realistic and ready to spend time with the pup, helping it develop its hunting skills. Over the past few months, we've enjoyed many hunts with Echo. We look forward to more great hunts over the years with our Weatherbys and our dog. If looking for a hunting dog that's right for you, be patient, do your homework, then get ready to enjoy all our great outdoors has to offer.
Pretty cool, don't you think? Anyway, if you got a few minutes to spare, you will really enjoy visiting wby-tv.com.
This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
Hand lines, horses, hired hands,
hunting, harvest, grapevines, gravel roads, slow farm equipment. A few of the many ways our lives differ from our urban friends. So why doesn't our insurance policy? When everything you hold dear becomes just another fixed formula your agent molded to fit one mega company, it's time to text Tina. As an independent broker with Simmons Insurance, Tina Headley has the freedom, passion, even the farming background to determine the perfect insurance carrier for you out of a portfolio of great choices to ensure your unique rural lifestyle is fully protected. Whether you live in a small town, acreage, or farm anywhere in the Northwest, you deserve an advocate, not just an agent. 509-540-0584. Text Tina 509-540-0584. That's 509-540-0584.
You demand quality performance from your binoculars, whether you use them in the field, on the water, or at a stadium. But you don't want to spend a fortune. That's where the BX McKenzie binoculars from Leupold come in. These armored, waterproof binoculars are both comfortable and dependable. Look for your McKenzie binoculars at quality sporting goods retailers near you, to include your Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse, or Northwest Bodmart stores. BX McKenzie, bringing your world into sharper focus, only from Leupold.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're broadcasting right next to the Spokane River in downtown Spokane. We're actually at the Red Lion Inn at the park. That's where the 4th annual rendezvous for the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is taking place. With us here to tell us more about it is Executive Director Land Tawney. Land, great to talk to you again.
John, thanks for having me.
Land, for our listeners who don't know, this is a young organization. What is the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers all about?
Everything that we do is trying to protect and promote opportunities to hunt and fish on public lands. We've been given this great heritage, and we're just trying to make sure that it be carried on into the future.
You know, when I hear backcountry, I immediately think of wilderness areas, national forest areas, people hiking into the backcountry looking for deer, looking for elk, looking for bear, people basically taking a fly rod or a fishing pole and hiking to some of the alpine lakes. Is that the sort of public lands we're talking about here, or is it more than that?
I'd say it's more than that. You know, we're a national organization, so we have members all over the country. And backcountry means something different to folks that live in the east. It's 160 acres, 200 acres, maybe a little bit more. In Montana and Idaho and Washington, that might be sometimes in the millions of acres. Up in Alaska, that gets into the multi-million acres. But what binds all of us throughout that is the solitude and the challenge, and then the experience of the hunt and what you get to do when you go there and fish. And so it's like all that binds us. And so it can be different in the east, in the west, and up in Alaska. But what binds us is all that similar stuff.
And you know, folks, this is a young organization. It was actually born in Oregon State, headquartered now in Missoula, Montana, but here in Spokane. Here tonight, there's going to be about 400 people attending this rendezvous. This is going to be a ton of fun, and I've already enjoyed meeting so many of the people that are part of this organization. And I guess you need to tell me a little bit more about what's happening here at the rendezvous so people can make plans to attend next year.
Sure. So we're having Brewfest tonight, which is going to be a great party. We got 10 different breweries with 20 different beers. So everybody will be imbibing for sure next to the Spokane River. And then we've got Randy Newberg here, who's going to be throwing out some swag. He's from Fresh Tracks on the Sportsman Channel. It's going to be a great time. We've got guns that we're giving away. We got a boat that we're going to be giving away. It should be a really good time tonight.
Oh, I can't wait for what happens next. That's for darn sure. And again, folks, you're missing it this year, but that's just kind of a taste of what you're going to be able to do next year. Now, let's talk about something else. You're going to have some seminars tomorrow, some really impressive seminars too. You're going to have a banquet where Randy Newberg from Fresh Tracks on the Sportsman's Channel, who we're going to catch up with later in the show, is going to be the keynote speaker. But Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, let's talk about some of the things that you're doing, and I want to turn our attention to politics. Sportsmen and women have been demonstrating or gathering at state capitals across the West, to include Boise and Helena, and they're basically saying we don't like some proposed legislation in Congress that would turn over control of federal land management to the states. So what exactly is this legislation called the Federal Land Freedom Act of 2015, and why is it being considered in Washington, D.C.?
Basically, this is just a step to sell public lands, and that's what we're seeing is availed. The states can't afford to actually take over management, and so what this really is leading to the sale of public lands. There's been proposals out in Washington, D.C. as well to sell public lands to help pay off our national debt. We see that as very short-sighted, and you know, public lands are a place where all of us can live like kings. I didn't grow up on a ranch. I don't have, a lot of friends that have private property, but I have this big open places that I can go on public land. And we want to make sure that those stay in public hands, and so that we have opportunities to hunt and fish way into the future.
It's funny you say that. You can go back 100 years to the time of the railroad barons, and you had exactly the same thing going on, and people like Teddy Roosevelt and a brand new Forest Service were basically fighting the same fight that you're fighting now. But I've got to tell you, on the surface, and again, just on the surface, turning management of federal lands over to the states, well, it seems like a good idea, because how many times have you found out that, geez, the roads aren't being maintained, so they're going to be closed by the Forest Service or the BLM. Trailheads are closed. Campgrounds are closed. We just don't have the money. It seems like an easy fix to turn it over to the states. It seems like it makes sense.
Sure. The first thing I would say is that states manage their land for the highest and best use, which means they're trying to make as much money off of that as they can. So that usually means extractive use. So when you think about what that does to fish and wildlife habitat and our opportunities to hunt and fish, it's not a good thing. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is that Forest Service, BLM, is managed for multiple use. That means ranching, timber harvest, ATV use, hunting and fishing. They all have an equal stand, and so we can actually manage that forest for everybody. On the state side, you don't get that. The last thing I would say is that, again, they cannot afford to do this, whether that's fire management, road maintenance, a lot of the things that you talked about, they can't afford to do that. And so what would they do? They would be forced to either raise taxes, which I think both of you and I know that's not going to happen, and the other idea is that they would have to sell that. And so those are two options that are just unattainable for us, again, because this is our public lands.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Land Tawney. He's the executive director for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and we're talking about a bill that's working its way through Congress, is trying to turn over management of federal lands to the states. We're going to drill down on this further, because what's really behind this is energy development, isn't it? I mean, it's not about making it a better deal for outdoor recreationalists. It's not about making more access for folks to get in the backcountry. This is, like you said, about having energy companies get their hands on extraction rights, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's about extraction industry, but it's also about fat cats with big wads of cash. That's who's going to benefit from this, not the average man and woman, but it's going to be either large companies and corporations, or it's going to be people that have the ability to buy up this land for their own.
I think we've pretty much determined this is not a good idea for the average Joe or average Jane who just loves to enjoy the backcountry and have access to all of it that's out there. So what do we do? What do we do to go ahead and fight back against the fat cats, against the entrenched senators and congressmen in Washington, D.C. that are trying to tell us this is a good idea when we know it's not?
Yeah, I think the first thing that you can do is you can sign our Sportsman's Pledge. Sportsman's Pledge basically says that you want to, carry on the legacy that we have, keep public lands in public hands, and pass off this land that was gifted to us in a better place for the future generations. So that's the first thing. You can go to our website, backcountryhunters.org, to actually do that. I would say contacting your local, elected officials and letting them know why they think this is a bad idea. And the third thing I would say is spread the word. I mean, the more and more that we talk about this, the more and more people get fired up about it. And so it's about spreading that word, and so we, as the people, can make this change.
I would imagine something else you can do is join this organization, right. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. If people want to do that and basically get a good flow of information about exactly how this is progressing, what's a website they can go to?
Yeah, they can go to backcountryhunters.org. We have chapters all over this country, and so you're belonging to a national organization, but you'll have definitely a local touch as well.
Backcountryhunters.org is the website again, backcountryhunters.org. What is the cost of an annual membership?
Cost of membership is $25. That not only gets you belonging to a national organization, also to the local chapter, gets you a magazine 4 times a year, and helps engage you in these fights that we have going on.
Plus, you can go ahead and attend the rendezvous next year. Do you know where that's going to be yet?
We do. It's going to be in Missoula, Montana. That's where our headquarters are, and this will be our 5th anniversary, and so expect that one to be bigger and better than any of them that we've had so far.
And this one's already a good time, folks. Again, the website is backcountryhunters.org, backcountryhunters.org. Check it out, and I think you're going to want to join the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Land, thanks for telling us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thanks so much, Tom.
I'd like to tell you I just brought down that buck, but I didn't. I missed. And you know why I missed? Because of the scope I've got on my rifle. You see, my friends told me to get a Leupold rifle scope. Why? Well, because Leupold is America's optical authority. They make a huge variety of quality scopes for every need, and they make them right here in the Northwest. Unfortunately, I didn't listen. I used the cheap scope that came with this rifle when I bought it. And when it came time to pull the trigger, well, let's just say things were a little blurry. Now, I've got nothing to look forward to except a long, empty-handed walk back home. Next time I come out into the field, there's going to be a loopholed scope on my rifle. And next time, I'm not going to miss.
Loophole Rifle Scopes. Check out the whole line at loophole.com and look for them at a sporting goods store near you.
Ah, the great outdoors. I'm ready for a great weekend of camping at this remote campground. But first, I think I'll invite my camp neighbors over for a meal of fire-roasted hot dogs and baked beans. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum. Hi, neighbors. I just came over to...
Pizza!
Hey, is that pizza you're eating? How did you get pizza out in the middle of nowhere?
Pizza!
Thanks. Oh, this is delicious. A pizza oven operated on a propane canister and another on the top of your camp stove? And they're both made by Camp Chef? I know Camp Chef made great stuff for outdoors cooking, but this? I've got to get one of these pizza ovens from Camp Chef. No more beans and weenies for this guy. From now on, it's artisan pizza for me when I'm camping.
Pizza!
The Camp Chef Pizza Oven. Make your own artisan masterpiece on your back patio or at the campground. Find out more at your local sporting goods dealer or at campchef.com.
Springtime is prime time to head to Mardon Resort to fish, hike, boat, and see wildlife. Park your RV, pitch a tent, or rent a wonderful park cottage at Central Washington's Potholes Reservoir and go play outside. When it comes to relaxing and enjoying the outdoors, Mardon is the place to be. To find out more, log on to mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com to book your next getaway, where the fish bite, but we don't.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us here is Lance Mers coming at you from the Central Washington Sportsman Show in Yakima. Lance, understand you've been fishing up at Lake Roosevelt lately. How's it been?
It's been fantastic. And, you know, we were primarily targeting the rainbows, and for a reason. We've got a new lure out called the Max Lure Smile Blade Spin Drift, and it is absolutely fantastic for the trout. It's got a 1.1-inch smile blade, typical configuration for the wedding ring, but the cool thing about it, it's got this new VMC Spin Drift hook, which is an integrated swivel system that allows the hook to flow freely and the swivel to flow freely again. So you get a lot of spin and action in the water. It's absolutely fantastic.
Now, are you tipping this with any sort of bait or not?
You can tip it with any type of bait. Of course, we're doing rainbows, so, you know, go with the typical night crawler, do a half a night crawler, use some corn, use some maggots, use your imagination.
How deep were you fishing to get in the fish on Lake Roosevelt?
It wasn't very deep at all. We were fishing probably about anywhere between 25 to 45 feet, and the rainbows were just tearing it up.
So when we're talking that depth, you can use a downrigger, but you can also use leaded line, no problem.
Absolutely, and that's just the thing. You know, a lot of people say, well, you got to use downriggers up there at Lake Roosevelt. No, you don't. You know, drop a couple ounces of, a banana weight onto your line and run in a flat line out of the back of your boat, and you'll catch just as many fish.
How big are the fish you were catching up there?
We were doing probably on average of about 20 to 22-inch rainbows.
That is really, really nice. Folks, there's a lot of folks here at the Sportsman Show, so we're going to cut this one off. But again, it's the Smile Blade Spin Drift Trout Lure from Max Lure Company, brand new lure. Go ahead and find out more about it at maxlure.com and look for it in your local sporting goods store. And that wraps up this week's Max Minute.
The road is calling you to experience one of Oregon's 7 wonders, the Wallowas. So grab your camping equipment and fishing gear and head out to Northeast Oregon, where you'll find the views are endless, the air crisp and clean, and the water's cold and clear. Set up camp by the shores of Wallowa Lake or in the heart of the Wallowa-Whitman National Forest. Take your fishing gear and cast your bait into the deep waters of Wallowa Lake, or roll your fly into one of the eddies of the many freestone creeks and rivers teeming with fish. This summer, take the road that leads to wonders. It begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Looking for that extra something that will get more salmon or trout into your boat? Then check out the Double D Dodger from Max Lure. The Double D does double duty and helps you catch more fish. The Double D's flash attracts lunkers, and the Dodger's patented stop-start action works wonders to get those fish biting. The Double D does even more by acting as a side planer to get your bait away from the boat where the fish are more likely to be and more apt to strike. The Double D Dodger. It's the Dodger you've got to have from Max Lure.
The Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show is celebrating 55 years of making life better outside. Life is an adventure, and it's better outdoors. It's fun for the whole family at the Spokane Fair and Expo Center, March 19th through the 22nd. With over 250 vendors, guides, and outfitters, there's so much to see and do, you won't want to miss it. There are even giveaways each day from Sportsman's Warehouse, Dave Smith, and the Elephant Boys. Visit bighornshow.com for more information.
Back from Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're broadcasting again from the Backcountry Hunter and Anglers National Rendezvous in Spokane, and we've got one heck of a guest that's here with us now. It's Randy Newberg. He is the host of Fresh Tracks, very popular show on the Sportsman Channel. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Glad to be here. Like I was telling you beforehand, I lived in Spokane for a year before I moved to Montana, and coming back here for the Backcountry Rendezvous is kind of a little bit of coming to see some stomping grounds.
Let's go ahead and tell people a little bit about your show, Fresh Tracks. It's on the Sportsman Channel. For those people who aren't aware of it, what's the premise?
Our show is the only show on any of the outdoor networks that's exclusively 100% self-guided on public lands of America. And our show airs in the third and fourth quarter of every year on Sportsman Channel. So starting the first week of July, you'll be able to catch us. This year, it'll be on Wednesday evenings. And the whole idea is, if you see Randy doing it, if you see our crew out there, because it's self-guided and it's public land, you can do it. And we want to make sure that the viewer who is watching this feels engaged, feels like, wow, I could go do that. And that's the whole premise of what we want to show.
What are some of the things that separate your show beyond that? And I guess I'm just going to ask right out front, is there always a quote-unquote happy ending for the hunter on your show?
Well, everyone who watches our show would know better if I said, oh yeah, it's always a happy ending. And we end up having to bleep out a few things when the frustration level gets high, but that's part of hunting. You know, hunting is not the guarantee. Hunting is the experience. Hunting is the challenge that the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. So we go out there, we do everything we can to try show us taking an animal, but in 5 to 7 days, it may work, it may not work. But if we hunt hard, we have all the trials, the tribulations. Sooner or later, a story is going to evolve from that. And my job is to figure out, what is this story that the viewer would find compelling?
Well, the viewers do find your show compelling, because this is what, your 8th season that's coming up?
Yeah, when we head to the field this fall, that'll be season number 8. We did 4 years of the old show On Your Own Adventures, and now last December we wrapped up the 3rd season of Fresh Tracks, and this fall will be season 8. It's hard to believe.
Well, you're doing something right, and I know there's a lot of people out there that want to know what's coming up this season. Why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners about some of the episodes they're going to see starting in July?
Yeah, this year was one of those years. Every year we try to have a theme, and this year was helping friends. I had a friend in Montana who had a mountain goat tag. He's got a very bad respiratory illness, and he's a young guy, and he was about ready to turn his tag back in, and 3 of us said, you're not turning a mountain goat tag back in. And we helped carry his camps up there. We filmed the story, and he shot a tremendous mountain goat. That's probably going to be the episode everyone has kind of pulled a little bit at their heartstrings. We went to New Mexico. I took a disabled Vietnam vet down there. They have mobility impaired hunts down there, and he shot an antelope. He thought his hunting days were behind him, and he lucked out and was able to get that tag. Then we shot 3 mule deer episodes, and I'm not about trophies and scores or anything, but by fluke, back to back to back, we shot the 3 largest mule deer we've ever shot on camera. I'm like, wow, what a lucky thing this is. You'll see me in Alaska hunting black bears, one of my favorite things to do on the islands down in the southeast there. You'll see Randy get within 18 yards of an elk in Utah. And
18 yards?
Yeah, 18 yards. It's an archery hunt. And anyone who's ever tried to film anything knows that a lot of times the shooter's angle and the camera's angle are different. And that bull stood there for the longest time, and he's still walking around out.
Oh, not a happy ending.
No, not the ending you'd hope for. And I know the crowd is going to watch it and say, oh man, that bull is dead, because at the camera angle it looks perfect. But my angle was not perfect. And so for us, we're not going to force the issue just to get an animal on camera. So you're going to see some of those kind of stories.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Folks, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Randy Newberg. He is the host of Fresh Tracks on the Sportsman's Channel. Let me ask you a question. I know there's always a lot more video that you record than what actually makes it on the show. What is the most memorable, maybe even funny thing that happened that didn't make it on the show this season?
I've told my crew and my production company if this piece of footage ever ends up in the public domain, they're dead. And what it is, I was in Colorado and I was stalking an animal and a prickly pear cactus got on the back of my pant leg and I didn't know it. And then I squatted down to take a shot and I sat right on that prickly pear and just buried it right in my butt. And I'm trying to be the good guy on camera and the camera guys are looking at me like, what's wrong with him? And finally, I just dropped my drawers, standing there in my whitey tighties, plucking these cactus quills out of my hind end. And I said, turn those cameras off. And so they're like, okay. And they walk away and they left the cameras on.
Well, of course they did.
Right. But I'm so distracted by the blood streaming down the back of my thigh. Finally, I look over and I can see the red lights are on the camera. And those guys are rolling in the sage laughing. And we watched the footage that night back at camp, and I just said, give me that tape. And they wouldn't give it to me. So somewhere out there is the most incriminating piece of footage you'll ever see of an outdoor person. But, hey, if you've ever sat on a cactus, you would know that that's being made a fool in public is low on the priority list compared to getting those cactus quills out of your rear end.
That is a great story.
But that will never make TV, I promise you.
Well, you may promise. I don't know about your camera crew, though. We'll see. Let's head back to Spokane, so to speak. Let's talk about the Backcountry Hunter and Anglers National Rendezvous. You're the keynote speaker here. And what are you going to be telling the audience tonight?
You know, what I want people to understand is that no matter who you are, where you come from, there are amazing places in America where you can go and hunt. And maybe not just hunt. Maybe you're a backcountry angler. Maybe you like to just hike or camp or whatever. And I just want people to feel positive about the work Backcountry is doing. I want to give them some, maybe a shot in the arm of enthusiasm to say, look, this is my style of hunting. People who watch my show see that we're backpack hunters. We're carrying these elk out on our backs. This is a lot of the way that I do it. And this whole rendezvous is kind of a celebration of that. So I actually was pretty humbled when they called and said, hey, Randy, you want to be our keynote? I'm like, well, yeah, I do, but I don't want to ruin your event. So it's a good group, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, they're glad to have you here as well, and I've truly enjoyed talking to you today. We need to tell folks again the air times of your show on the Sportsman Channel. When can people tune into Fresh Tracks?
Yeah, starting in July, you can catch us on Sportsman Channel on Wednesday nights, and let's see, you guys are on Pacific time, right?
Well, some of our listeners are, some aren't.
Okay, so I'm going to give you that. Where I live in Bozeman, Montana, it's 9:30 on Wednesday night. So
if you're in Bozeman, it's 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
If you're in Seattle, if you're in Portland, you're in Spokane, it's 8:30 p.m.
There you go. Thanks for getting me through that piece.
Don't worry about that. One other thing that we want to talk about here is a website so people can find out more about your show and also about a really popular hunting forum you have too.
Yeah, we have the hunting forum that accompanies our show. It's called hunttalk.com, just like it sounds, HUNTTALK, hunttalk.com. And when I'm not on TV in the fall, you see me writing and blogging and posting, and we've got tens of thousands of people out there all the time talking about important hunting issues, public land issues, wildlife issues, but also a celebration of hunting by posting your story. Maybe it's you took your child out, it was their first hunt. We want to see those kind of things too. And so this forum is a place for everybody to come. It's kind of like a big campfire in some ways. And as hunters, we all love to sit around the campfire and tell our story. So this is their chance to do that at Hunt Talk.
Well, there you go, folks. Again, that website, hunttalk.com, hunttalk.com. You'll find this forum that Randy just described and also information about his show, Fresh Tracks, on the Sportsman Channel. Catch it every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Randy, been a pleasure talking to you today. Thanks so much for being with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John. I appreciate you having me.
Good hunters know before you take that shot, you've got to see the whole picture. Now, the best way to do that is with a spotting scope, binoculars, or a rifle scope, but it's got to be from Leupold. Now, Leupold is a Northwest company with a reputation that stretches across the world for making superior optics. Look for Leupold Optics at your local Cabela store, Dick's Sporting Goods, or online at leupold.com. Leupold, America's optical authority.
The road is calling you to experience one of Oregon's 7 wonders, the Wallowas. So grab your hiking boots and camera and capture the beauty and grandeur of Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Experience nature like never before when you saddle up and ride into the eagle-capped wilderness, hike the trails of the Wallowas, hear the wind rush through the bunch grass and view the wildlife of the Zumwalt Prairie, or ride the churning waters of the wild and scenic Wallowa, Snake, and Grand Ronde rivers. This summer, take the road that leads to wonders. It begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Today's line of portable camp stoves from Camp Chef have come a long way from your father's propane stove, featuring matchless ignition, more cooking power, and in some cases a built-in grill or extra burner. Look for the complete line of Mountain Series stoves at your local sporting goods store or online at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's time again for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. It's March Madness for walleye anglers on Potholes Reservoir, where fish are being caught in 17 to 42 feet of water near the mouth of Crab Creek, off of Frenchman's Wasteway, and in Lind Coulee. Good place to go if the wind kicks up. The water is warming, and that means anglers can have success using either blade baits or slow trolling Max Smile Blade slow death rigs behind bottom bouncers. Tip those bad boys with a night crawler. Check in at the store at Mardon Resort for the latest details on where to go and what to use. It's also a great place to stay, whether you camp, have an RV, or want to stay in one of the camper cabins or park cottages or the motel. The website, mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. Steelhead fishing has been hot on the Grand Ronde River, bordering the tip of northeast Oregon and southeast Washington. That's the word from the Wallowa County Chieftain, which reports some 19,000 steelhead, the most since 2010, have finned their way into the Grand Ronde and tributaries like the Wallowa and Imnaha rivers. Water levels do tend to fluctuate at this time of year, but if you find the water to be low and clear, take a tip from Brad Snook of the Sportsman's Corral, who suggests using fluorocarbon fishing line, which is less visible than standard monofilament. If you're wondering what to use, a couple of anglers reported having very good success for the steelhead on WashingtonLakes.com using orange corkies. The average size fish has been 3 to 6 pounds, but one angler on this popular website reported catching and releasing a wild steelhead that looked to be 13 pounds or more in size. Wow, definitely time to hit the Grand Ronde River. Getting off the water and onto land, we've got some wolf updates for you. On the hunting front, we learned from the outdoor press room a total of 204 wolves were killed in Montana as the hunting season comes to an end, down from 230 wolves last year. Of the wolves that were killed in 2014, 127 were shot by hunters and the remaining 77 caught by trappers, according to Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Meanwhile, in Washington State, Fish and Game officials report wolf numbers continue to grow despite the lethal removal of several of them by WDFW after livestock depredation over the last 2 years. At the end of 2014, surveys found 68 wolves compared to 52 a year earlier. There are also 16 confirmed packs now in the Evergreen State, up 4 from the previous year, and this includes a new wolf pack in the Blue Mountains of southeast Washington. I suspect wolves are going to be making their way west of the Cascade Crest much sooner than later, which is going to make management of these predators even more interesting than it already is. Idaho Fish and Game released 61 wild turkeys near Salmon recently, and with any luck, hunters might get a turkey season in Lemhi County by 2016. The 15 toms and 46 hens were released as part of an effort to establish a viable population of the big game birds that is not dependent on supplemental feeding. If the gobblers make it through the winter in good shape, and habitat work being done by the state in partnership with the National Wild Turkey Federation and other organizations pay off, there may well be huntable numbers within a year. Let's cross our fingers and hope this works out. Next up, we're going to tell you about another great event coming to Spokane in less than a week. It's the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show, and Wanda Clifford's going to join us in just a minute to tell you all about it.
Hi, this is Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. Many of our Shiloh customers have been visiting our Shiloh locations for years, and here's an example of someone who wouldn't stay anywhere else.
Sometimes I go visit family, but most of the time I travel back and forth for business. And the best part is that I always travel with my dog Lucky, and he's welcome at any of the Shiloh Inns. I love their beds, beautiful rooms, really clean. The staff go out of their way to make me feel comfortable. Business area when I need it. Man, I'm telling you, at the end of the day, do I ever enjoy that pool and the spa. Plus, free breakfast. I love Shiloh Inns. It's everything I need.
We invite all of you to try Shiloh Inns the next time you're traveling for business or pleasure. Call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohins.com. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence. American family-owned and proud of it.
If you've ever been fishing in Mexico, you know how good it can be, and now you can fish there with the Real News. Take your choice of a trip to Baja's East Cape for roosterfish, marlin, and dorado. These trips are value priced, so you can stretch your dollars in fun. To find out more about fishing Mexico with the Real News, log on to therealnews.com or call 425-334-8966. Again, that's therealnews.com or 425-334-8966. For an incredible adventure.
I'm Bob Loomis, and I fish for walleye. Sometimes when I'm out on the water, I feel like a destroyer captain hunting for targets with my electronics. I'm not hunting submarines, though. I'm hunting fish, and when I find that big one on the fish finder, I want to make sure she's going to bite. That's where the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig from Max Lure comes in. The Smile Blade spins and flashes at ultra-slow speeds, and the one-of-a-kind red hook keeps that bait moving in a way the fish can't resist. It's the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig, only from Max Lure.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for upcoming events, and we spent a lot of time in Spokane during this show, and guess what? This upcoming event is taking place in Spokane, too. It's the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show. It's taking place March 19th through the 22nd. It's a great show, and with us here to tell us more about it is Wanda Clifford. Wanda, welcome back.
Oh, thanks, John. It just seemed like yesterday that I was talking about last year's show.
I know, but this is the 55th annual Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show. Always one of my favorites. It takes place at the Interstate Fairgrounds in Spokane. It's running this year from March 19th through the 22nd. What are some of the highlights for the 55th annual, 55th anniversary, I should say?
It really is an anniversary. Made it 55 years. We're excited about this year's show, John. We have grown. And we actually had to open up a whole new building.
Wow!
To make room for our growth. Just busting at the seams this year. New vendors, new guides, new outfitters, more boats, more product. A whole new Sportsman's Lounge partnering with Black Diamond here in Spokane. Going to bring in microbrews, tables. You know, that's going to be so people can watch the games and be comfortable doing it. We have this year, we've brought in a climbing wall for not just kids, it's for adults too. We've also brought in for entertainment this year, we're excited about this. He's a kind of a local person, that's Scott Peterson, the reptile man.
Cool.
He's actually going to have a petable alligator with him.
A petable alligator. So tell me something. Is this like the abominable snowman in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that he's basically defanged? There's no teeth that are going to bite us?
I'm hoping that it tastes better, not something, you know.
Well, that'll be cool to see. A petable alligator. That will be something.
And he's bringing in, all of his snakes are non-venomous, so kids can touch, they can pet. A real hands-on learning experience about reptiles.
Oh, that sounds cool. Now, speaking of the kids, you've always got a trout pond. That's coming back this year too, isn't it?
Trout pond is most definitely coming back this year. 3 ponds of trout, everything from small to huge trout come in, and always fun to watch the kids catch their trout. And as always, if you just want to fish but you don't want to have to worry about taking a fish home, we actually have a place that you can donate your catch to the Union Gospel Mission here in Spokane.
I think that's fantastic. Another thing for the kids, as I recall, there's always an archery range too, isn't there?
There is an archery range, yes. That's Evergreen Archery, has an archery range, and they are always working with the kids. That is what they do to get those kids into that first archery with those little long bows and making sure that they're successful at what they do. always a good item to take your kids to so they can experience that.
So lots of stuff going on for the kids, but there's some stuff for the adults too. I understand the Great Elk Tour from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is coming back again this year.
They are coming back again this year, and many people, when they hear that, they're going to think, I saw that last year, but it's all new elk this year.
Nice.
They've redone their trailer. It's all new, and they've put in all new elk from the past year. So it's an all-new event. It's not the same Rocky Mountain Elk Tour they saw last year.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio, folks. We're talking to Wanda Clifford. She's the executive director for the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council. They put on the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show every year, one of my favorite shows. We exhibit there every year, and we love seeing you there. But a lot bigger celebrity than me is going to be one of your seminar speakers, Troy Pottinger. Tell me about him.
Troy Pottinger is an outstanding, knowledgeable man. We just had him here at our Wildlife Council general meeting last month doing a seminar here and talking about big game hunting and all kinds of things about being in the woods, helpful stuff, everything from tree stands to cameras, and he is just so knowledgeable about what he is doing.
And Troy, folks, if you didn't know, he's the host of Whitetail Addictions, a very popular TV show. Okay.
Yes, he is.
So let's talk about some of the other seminars. You've got a whole bunch of them. You've got seminars on planning for an Alaska hunt. You've got a couple of great game callers who are going to be there. Got a guide to talk about walleye fishing, fly fishing for bass and panfish, and even tiger muskie, spring turkey hunting, and fishing the Clark Fork River with Steve Temple. He's a really knowledgeable guy. I like him.
Really knowledgeable, and sometimes we don't think about very much often is fly fishing. And I grew up fishing the creeks in Montana, and my family were fly fishermen, and I just love to listen to him, and it's something everybody should give a try.
Well, the seminars, folks, are a great reason to come because you learn so much at these shows, and this is a great opportunity, too, to, if you're looking to buy a boat, if you're looking to buy an RV, if you are looking to go ahead and book a trip with a guide or outfitter, lots of new stuff here this year, and this is a great opportunity. You always have a lot of stores that offer some screaming deals, too, don't you?
We always do, yes. This year we got with this North 40.
Good.
New first time in the show, coming in with their new outdoor recreational area. If you haven't been to the North Side North 40 in Spokane, they've really done a huge job in adding sporting equipment to their store. Also back new this year that we're very excited about is the Sportsman's Warehouse.
Nice.
They just opened a brand new store here in Spokane, and they're going to be joining us with a booth this year again.
Oh, I can't wait. So let's talk about one other thing here, and that would be admission and show hours.
Admission this year is $10 per adult. It is $8 for students and seniors. 6 and under are always free. If you want a little bit of a discount for the day, if you walk into a Ziggy store or a Les Schwab store in the area, you'll be able to pick up a $6 voucher that will bring you into the show on Thursday.
Nice.
So that's quite a discount. Can't make it to the show that day, but still looking for a little bit of a discount, you can come and see us on Sunday, and you get $1 off each adult ticket.
One other thing to mention here, folks, the proceeds from this show, they're not going into a promoter's pocket. Nope, this goes to the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council. So you're doing this work in the Inland Northwest. It basically has to do with wildlife habitat conservation and basically just, helping wildlife get a leg up. And we're not just talking deer and elk. You've done all sorts of different species, haven't you?
We have done all kinds of different species. We've built bat houses.
I love that story when you told me that a couple years ago.
About the bat houses. That's probably one of our proudest things that we've done. We have an upland bird committee that we go out and we do a lot of habitat planting for pheasants. We also have a pheasant chick program where we put out chicks. I think we put out something like 25,000 chicks last year to people to take home and raise them.
Wow. Well, folks, we are running out of time, but if you want to find out more about the work that the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council is doing, I'm going to direct you to a website that'll teach you more about that and also give you more details about the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show. It's wildlifecouncil.com. Really simple. Wildlifecouncil.com is the website to find out about the great work the Inland Northwest Wildlife Council is doing and find out all the details you need to attend the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show March 19th through the 22nd at the Interstate Fairgrounds in Spokane. Wanda, always a pleasure. Can't wait to see you there.
I look forward to seeing you too.
Thanks, Wanda. That's all for this week. I'd like to thank Brian Jennings with the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers for inviting me to an awesome rendezvous in Spokane. You can find out more about this great organization at backcountryhunters.org. Speaking of websites, go to our website too, northwesternoutdoors.com. You'll find links that will give you more information about our guests. You'll also find audio from last week's show right on the front page of our website. That's northwesternoutdoors.com. Another website to be aware of, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. That's right, it's the home of the WRVO internet radio station, bringing you outdoors programming 7 days a week. We're part of the lineup and love to be there. That's RenoViolaOutdoors.com. We're also on Facebook. Our page is Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Like us, follow us. We're always posting information there that doesn't necessarily make the show. We are out of time. So until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.